Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green globe of ours. Welcome to Friday Night Funtime on Real News Live. I'm your host, Mike Barrett in Seattle, Washington, and I am drinking an adult beverage on this fine Friday night, the day after Australia Day and the day after my birthday. Oop, better get the chat going here. Yeah, we'll get that chat up and going. And I am going to be drinking my favorite, as I always do, a Jeremiah Red from BJ's Brew House. Stephanie Jackson, you have those in Arizona, don't you? In Phoenix, you have BJ's Brew House, right? I think you have them. So we'll have to go there and drink and eat some good food if I should come down for the Super Bowl, which sounds like a lot of fun. So that's what I'm drinking. That's what I'm pouring. And I'm joined tonight, of course, as always, by the world-famous, soon-to-be Roswell speaker, Dr. Brooks Agnew, to my stage left, my physical right. Brooks, how you doing tonight, and what adult beverage might you be drinking?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a great week, and I am drinking some fresh ground Amelie's coffee.
Coffee?
Yes, coffee.
You're drinking coffee, Brooks?
Yeah.
What's the twist?
Friday night.
It's an adult beverage.
Yeah, Brooks is the one who's going to be dancing around on the table tonight because he's got so much energy, not because he's drunk. All right, kitty corner for me, down in the lower left corner, stage lower left corner. TV's Blake Wally at the center of the storm, in the eye of the hurricane. You're dancing in a hurricane, Mr. Wally.
Yes.
You don't know that line, do you? That's from the James Bond movie, Spectre. You're a kite dancing in a hurricane, Mr. Bond. Down in somewhere in Tennessee, I think, or east of the. Oh, should I have said that shit? East of California, TV's Blake Wally. Blake, how are you tonight? And what the hell are you drinking?
I'm doing well. As you can see, I'm here in Memphis, the festivities. And I am going to be drinking Cabernet Black Box. And happy birthday, Mike.
Black Box Cabernet, thank you. I appreciate it. I am, for those of you wondering, I was 53 years old yesterday. And down below, the very last spot, the lovely, smart, brilliant, the woman that everybody tunes into this show for, Candace Whitelight from Somewhereville in Montana. Candace, how are you tonight, and what adult beverage might you be drinking? Like you're drinking.
I'm fine. I'm doing good. I think I have something really, I'm looking forward to, which I don't like, which is more, negative Fahrenheit degrees for the next week.
Yikes.
But we all kind of get cozy. And I still am on my kombucha sort of methodology here. It's very helpful for everything that I need help with. And that's just generally what I drink. So it's a tangerine dream tonight, and it's going to set the tone for our music stuff later on.
Well, it's been an interesting week in the news. First of all, I'd like to apologize for last week. Canceled at the last minute. I had a little health scare that I had to take care of, not with me, but with some other people. So I had to cancel, but we came back and we're here and everything is fine and everybody's been great and having a great birthday. I think that Cheap Trick concert took a little bit much out of somebody else that I might be related to. So it's great to have you guys here and I appreciate it. Okay, so where do we sit today? Well, where we sit, if you look at Twitter, is we got riots. We got dead football players pretending to be alive. We got World War III about to start. We have a president basically surrounded by a document scandal and rumors running rife that he's going to be removed. And we have lots of hints that the financial system is about to implode, the fiat currency financial system. And we could talk about all those things tonight. But where I think I want to start is actually, we should start with what's going on in Memphis. But I got the video queued up for this one already, so we're going to start with this. Damar Hamlin, the football player who had a heart attack, went into cardiac arrest on the field 3 weeks ago in Buffalo, or in Cincinnati. It was in Buffalo. and was basically in Cincinnati, was pronounced, basically dead. They did CPR on him for 9 minutes, which is some sort of world record. And he appeared last week at the NFL football game between the same two teams, the Bengals and the Bills. The Bengals kicked the crap out of him and knocked him out of the playoffs. And everybody said, "Oh, Damar Hamlin's back, and he got released from the hospital. He's out of ICU in 8 or 9 days, and he's showing up and he's doing these. Well, they look like Illuminati signs. People are saying it's a heart sign, but it looked more like an Illuminati sign. And he's got a mask on and he's not showing his face. And people are like, who is this person? Is this really this guy? And if you get CPR done on you for 9 minutes, basically everybody in the world is saying your ribs should be broken. And if your ribs are broken, 2 weeks later, you're not going to be doing this and you're not going to be walking around like nothing's going on. And he's got no heart monitors and some of the pictures, and he's covered by a mask, and he's walking around with a hood and a mask so you can't see his face. So then everybody in NFL football media started making a big joke out of this. Oh, look, Patrick Mahomes from the Kansas City Chiefs. He stepped off the stage after his press conference. He's not limping at all. Mahomes has been replaced by a body double. Ha, ha, ha. Look at all these stupid conspiracy theorists. Then this happened. This happened, I think, yesterday morning, if not today. This is Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, who got knocked out, a teammate of Damar Hamlin, and he's about to be asked by Kyle Brandt about Damar Hamlin. And the interesting thing is, Kyle Brandt, by the way, is the guy who lost out to some other actor for the reboot of Knight Rider on NBC, and then went on to become a football commentator. So this guy's a real brainiac. But let's watch this video, and the audio is not very clear, but let me just play it for you. Let's show it.
Okay, so you don't think that you were duped by fake Damar in the locker room when you saw him? Let's just get that out there.
I don't think so. If it is, who knows? But that's my guy.
Are you suggesting there's maybe a chance it was?
Let's watch that again and listen very closely to how Mr. Allen responds.
Wow.
Okay, so you don't think that you were duped by fake Damar in the locker room when you saw him? Let's just get that out there.
I don't think so. If it is, who knows? But that's my guy.
Are you suggesting there's maybe a chance it was?
I don't think so. That's a real strong answer. I don't think so. If it is, who knows? Who knows if it was fake Damar? Now remember, I want to remind everybody, in this book in 2010, I told you, in this book, The Choice, I told you that at the end, when things went bad for the establishment, I didn't call them the deep state then, but I'd heard that term. But when things went bad, they would lurch from mistake to mistake to mistake as they tried to get out of this cascading situation around them.
Yeah.
That they would instinctively do, because of all the astrology and the astronomy and everything that goes into the physics and controls our consciousness, that they would instinctively make the wrong call. This, to me, looks like the wrong call, because what Josh Allen basically said is, I'm not sure that was Damar. He's been teammates with this guy for 2 years, and he doesn't know who he talked to. That much is obvious from the video, and I'll try to find some of the other video and run it while you're talking. But Brooks, what do you think about what he said? I think it's fucking hilarious myself.
Well, I mean, we see this happening. We do see accusations going on all over the place. I have friends who say, Putin's dead, and that's a double. And I said, look, there's two rules when you're dealing with doubles. The first is you never really let the camera get a good, clear look at them. They're for a feint to show somebody walking from an office to a limo, or from a limo to a helicopter. It's designed to throw the enemy off as to where your locations are.
Here, and Damar stood up, right?
Yeah, he did. This is it right here.
What a scene.
Right.
Oh.
I meant to be.
You never let the double speak. You never let the double speak. Because as soon as you do, somebody's going to do voice analysis on it and going to say, look, these two voices are different. That's not Joe Biden. That's not Vladimir Putin. President Trump came out and said, no, that's not a double of President Xi. You can't do a double of him. Yeah, look at this guy.
Yeah.
And see, that's what you never get a clear picture of a double, and you never let the double speak. Those are the two rules.
Well, they break those.
Oh, it's a clone of Hillary Clinton. Do you know how long it takes to grow a clone? It takes as long as it does to grow a body. And guess what? It's its own personality. How much money are you going to pay them to go act like that person in real life and take a bullet for them? It's in the movies, not real life.
Okay.
They can grow clones really fast now. Whatever.
Well, maybe they can, but it's quite clear something is wrong here. And even people who believe the election was legitimate and Joe Biden won, even they're saying, wow, something's wrong. Something's wrong here. Candace, what do you think's going on with this thing?
Well, I think there's another option, and I totally agree with Brooks in terms of the fact that clones take too long, and they're also too expensive for most of these, what you would call mid-level, crisis actor types. But we have, a pretty sure indicator that there's a lot of these folks that have been chipped, and they put these microchips in them, and they're able to control them. It's kind of voice of God stuff that, the military has played around with for years. And then there's also this kind of thing that went on in the 70s and 80s, well into the 90s. There was a program of test tube babies. And these were created not only, locally in terms of this country, but also out of China. And they also have bio labs in Taiwan. And of course, there's several in Norway and Sweden that were a part of this action as well. And these individuals are, taken out of a test tube, and who knows who the father is. I mean, there's a lot of speculation about that, but there are some pretty evil people out there that have contributed sperm for a long time, and that they were, cooked up, put into a womb, and then born. A lot of them don't have birth certificates. This is the only problem they weren't able to work out. And in my research, these people have been put into play not only for eventual doubles, which of course is like also something you can do with cosmetic surgery. And a lot of times these particular hybrids are put into surgery for that express purpose, to change their features well enough to be able to then to duplicate or double an individual. And they're also, since they're programmed now, all I have to do is just say mainstream media. All those people are, got a headset on and have been reporting and saying the same exact words, the same, time of the day. I mean, it's like something that you just can't convince people that they're being that completely duped, that this con is, not only what we see on the mainstream media, but it's also what we have seen in with physicians. And we've seen it with social workers and CPS people and honeypots and folks that are high up in the political line. I've got a lady that I personally met and knew, and she admitted to me that she had been chipped because her father was a state senator and very well known, and the whole family was involved in politics. And so I think there's more of them out there than you can imagine. So
and people are saying clones don't last long, like what, 4 years, 4-year lifespan?
6 months. Well, yeah, they have a very short,
and then just to top it all off, after the game or before, DeMar supposedly went and posed next to a mural of him that had been made by some fans, and then he posted on his Twitter. So I'm going to show you what DeMar posted, TV's Blake Wally, on his Twitter. And here it is. It's DeMar Hamlin. It's him with a bunch of mustard all over his pants or something, standing next to this mural. And his caption is clone. clone.
Yeah.
Something's going on. What's going on, Blake? What the hell
Definitely.
is going on?
Well, that one I might have to throw a little cold water on and debunk. I think it might be something to do with his fashion, or he's selling merchandise or something like that, and he's switched clothes and he's got the ninja emoji. But the bigger story, of course, no matter
Shit.
Unfreeze.
He's got all green bars. Now he goes to red. Now he's going to red. All right.
Oh, okay. I don't know where I cut off.
You're back. You said something about a clothing line, right?
Yeah, I think it's the clothing line, and maybe he switched clothes, because I think it's another picture of him in a different outfit. But still, the bigger story is that him? And I don't think it is. So we haven't heard his voice. We haven't seen his face. We did see Josh Allen interview. Now there's some doubt there. And so why, with all this controversy, because he was like #1 trending for like 2 days on Twitter, you would think he would just at least make an appearance and show his face. Even have to say anything if he can't speak because his ribs are broken, he could at least smile and they could just say, hey, this is Damar. He was wanted to address some of the concerns out there, but they have done nothing. And I thought they could just pull the wool over our eyes and everybody would just believe it. But this doesn't work like it used to. Like it used to, they could do that 20 years ago. Nobody would notice because nobody would remember the game unless they taped it on their VHS or something. But now it's on Twitter immediately. All the videos they've got the whole thing together.
Yeah.
There is it's comical, but it's terrible. It's tragic because you got to think, well, he's either dead or he's comatose or he's not in any kind of condition. But the NFL is clearly lying to us until I see some proof.
Well, yeah, and the thing is too is that the NFL has lots of reasons to lie and trot out a fake Damar Hamlin, because for one thing, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Do you really think multi-billion-dollar corporations are above trotting out a body double with a mask on and a hat and all that, especially when they forced their players at the point of a gun? Basically, we're going to sue. We're going to fine you for $14,000, and that's a lot of money to lower paid guys in the NFL if you don't take the jab. And then they have a heart attack because of the jab. Brooks, hit it.
Well, especially when Pfizer is your #1 sponsor of the sport.
The liability that the NFL is exposed to here is off scale high. It could literally put an end to the NFL if their players keep dropping dead. And by the way, an ex-Washington Redskin who I think is still in his late 20s, early 30s, just had a stroke today. Robert Griffith III is like, oh, my buddy, my teammate had a stroke.
I've been saying that Monday night game might be one of the last actual live football games we ever see. They're going to start going to 2 and 3 minute delays. You won't know it as a viewer.
Yeah.
But from the stadium to the viewer, unless people have a zoom lens on their phone where they're streaming it, and I think they can block cell phones in a stadium, the live, people can drop, and then they'll just go to commercial, get them off the field, and go right to the next play.
Yeah, I watch Manchester City FC Football Club. They're an English football team, the best in the world, and they played in the Football Association Cup today against Arsenal. And, I'm sitting there watching the show with my brother, and my phone, my Twitter starts going bing, bing, bing. And I'm like, oh, I think somebody scored. I mean, they have it sometimes 2 minutes before I actually get it on my screen.
Exactly.
It's not just satellite, because satellite transmission is basically speed of light instantaneous. It's the buffer they create. And yeah, it's definitely a thing. I'll be sitting there and I'll be looking at my phone to try to check an email and, goal Manchester City. And I'll be like, shit. And I'll say to Dave, you should watch the next minute or so here. So it does happen. And I think you're right. It's
scary because now we're starting to get to the hockey stick portion of the death rate. And and it's hardly an hour goes by. I don't have something on my social media. Somebody died suddenly. By the way, I really like the Project Veritas. They named it when that guy was caught talking about how the drug company was going to modify a virus and make it even worse so they could make a vaccine for it. And yeah, he might have been bragging on a date, but that guy's fired. He's all done. But you know what they called it? Lied suddenly. I thought it was great.
Like suddenly, yeah, I like that. And the thing is, Candace, I feel like all this stuff together is starting to pull down the veil, and you're starting to see what's underneath. And it ain't that sexy shit you used to see in the old Hammer films, right? It's ugly. So, what do you think about my theory? I think this is part of the awakening process. It's going to wake people up.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that this is a phase of the operation that we really have to go through, and that is putting it in people's faces, getting into their living room between them and their television and dancing it out so that they start to wake up. I mean, we've been working on this for how many years now, and it just seems like it's been, as usual. I think the 3-minute delay would probably work, but I got to tell you, in broadcast news, that's been the standard since 2000. And there's been nothing that we have seen real time, and with
Except
all the
for
deep
Eric
fakes.
Swalwell's part. Eric Swalwell's part live.
Yeah, NASA.
Yeah, and that you can't endure that man. That's
NASA
really
Select TV did it ever since a flying saucer did a 60-degree turn at 200,000 miles an hour on their live feed. And you're like, well, I think we're going to put a 2-minute delay on this live feed. So, yeah.
Well, again, we're talking about a media operation that they are trying to keep from happening. And to tell you the truth, they're out of playing cards. I mean, they're down to their last hand. And, we have all the earmarks of having, Trump come forward today and just kind of go through this itinerary that he's going to take care of. And saying just right out there that, that basically he's the commander in chief. I mean, he framed it so you'd have some problems sort of thinking about it, but that Truth Social has been the format for him, and he's done a good job, I think, of being timely. So why today? I mean, 6 different short takes he did, and each one of them was on each phase of the cabal. We're going to do this for mainstream media and this about big pharma. And Veritas, I just have tremendous respect for, because they have been very, very, effective. And for that moment, I watched the whole program basically that was put up today about the meeting at the cafe with the individual that was called out, for Pfizer. And this guy, he's nuts. He's absolutely crazy, batshit lunatic. And I have a tendency to say that, that these people that they've put in positions of control. I mean, he's like, the one that's designing these new variants that they're going to actually put into the vaccine. That's insane. That's not science. That's science fiction.
It's something out of a James Bond movie. I mean, it's nuts. It's like, oh, this guy's gonna kill the whole world with a nerve gas from this beautiful little plant thing. It's crazy ass shit, Candace, but it is happening, and people are starting to wake up to it. The fact this is even being discussed amongst NFL Twitter and they're responding to it shows you that it's got traction. Brooks.
I'll tell you what really blows my mind. I'm writing my 13th book, and I can't tell you the title of it because it's so good. I don't want anybody to take it. The plot in the book is an engineered virus.
Yeah.
That's genetic specific. And it's almost word for word what this guy said in the cafe. It just blows my mind how these things stream to me, and I put them in the book.
All right. Let's move on to the next thing. Last night in Memphis, Tennessee, a black man was killed by 5 cops who kind of worked him over. And it's really hard to see what's going on. But the body cam footage was released today by the Memphis police, an edited version, I might tell you. It was not the raw body cam footage. And, of course, TV's Blake Wally, our on-site reporter, who's always there for everything. He was there for January 6th. If you want to come arrest him. No, find him, you can arrest him. but he's there on site, and it's getting pretty crazy out there. And I have some comments to say about it before I throw it to you. But let's watch some video from Fox News last night. I hate to give Fox News any.
I can't explain it. I just can't explain it. Do we have any of the footage of the officers talking amongst each other? Let's listen to this.
I sprayed, he sprayed, hip hit a tase, he jumped up, just tase. Then he was going for not those people, dog. Then he was going for a gun too, so I'm like, he grabbed Mark gun. That's long as 500 been a minute. I seen him running, man. We rode past the running.
So.
What language is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
So we tried to get him stopped. He didn't stop. We still instead of trying to get him stopped, hit the side, stop. I'm like, drove around, like, swerved like he was gonna hit my car. And then I'm like, God damn, man, what are we doing? He pulled up to the red light, stop at the red light, put his turn signal on. We jump out the car.
So that was interesting. We got a little bit more of a window into what happened pre-incident. What I heard was, according to the officer, he wasn't stopping. He was swerving at their vehicles, not really complying while he was in the car, so that's why they pulled him out so aggressively. I did hear some chatter early on that tape about them saying he was going for their gun. I mean, he could have been going for their gun. I didn't see it. It's really dark, but you heard the officer say he was going for my gun.
So theoretically, there are 5 body cams that are in play here, right? So, you know, we're seeing pieces of one or maybe little pieces of several. But if you look at all 5 body cams, it's possible that you might see that. As you say, I don't see that here. What struck me about what you just showed is that sounds to me like, and the body language sounds to me like one of the officers explaining what's gone on, which tells me there might be a boss there now. Can't see. He might be outside the frame. But looks to me like he's explaining what he did, why he did what he did, etc. The problem with that is going to be if it directly contradicts in some way. Now I'm thinking in terms of prosecution. Let me put my lawyer hat on. You've got 5 different views of this thing. You have him explaining something that's on tape. The body cams stayed on after the incident. That's not always the case. Many departments, once the incident is over, it comes off. So you're going to have all kinds of statements that are made after the incident. Those things are entirely admissible. And it's going to be interesting as this goes forward. Are all 5 going to be prosecuted at the same level? Are they going to look to say, okay, this person has the least culpability? Maybe that person we're going to look to bring in as a cooperator, et cetera.
One of these guys is probably going to cut a deal. That's how it usually shakes out.
Okay. Sorry, I had to mute you guys there because we got some feedback. But, okay, so they tasered this guy. They pepper sprayed him. There's video of that. Everybody got very upset. There were riots last night in Tennessee, I believe in Memphis. Antifa is in Times Square right now, going to have a protest, going to have a riot. I've been to Times Square a lot recently. I'm gonna be sad if that happens, but a lot of shit going down. It looks like riots are happening or going to happen very soon, which is one of the end time scenarios. And when I say end time, I don't mean biblical end time. I mean end of the fake Biden administration time scenarios. That's one of the things, because then you'll have to call out the National Guard to come into the cities and restore order and declare martial law, which will set up, guess what? The real president to come back, who's been talking a lot. That's always a possibility. And the other thing that really gets under my skin is that this guy, as I watched the video, and it's like more than 4 minutes long. I didn't want to play that whole thing of him fighting with these cops, is that this guy has been brainwashed into thinking the cops are going to kill him. So he fought them and fought him and ended up getting killed, probably because he fought them. Whereas if he just cooperated, it might not have happened. Now, those cops, I mean, it looks to me like Antifa, South, or some sort of Crips or Bloods gang or something. Come on, guys. They seem like they overdid it, but you've got there's people like Michael Bennett, who used to play for the Seattle Seahawks, who brainwashes people into if there's cops, they're going to kill me. I mean, he did this whole thing in Vegas where where somebody knocked over a pole, one of those velvet rope poles they use, and he decided he was getting shot at because he was black, and he ran out, and the cops are chasing him, and then he accused the Las Vegas cops of being racist because they arrested this 6'5", 278-pound black dude who was running through their casino like a maniac after something that sounded like a gunshot went off. But there's this constant media bombardment brainwashing young black men into thinking the cops are going to kill him. And guess what? Now the cops have ended up killing this guy. So, Blake, I want to start with you, and then we're going to go to Candace and then go to Brooks. Blake, what's it like there in Memphis? What do you think is going to happen with the riots? I mean, I feel like this could be the start of the riots that are going to shut everything down in this country for a while. What do you think?
We'll see. I've stepped away from everything, so I don't know exactly what's going on behind me, but I haven't seen that quite yet. I'm hoping that things will be reasonably calm because at least this time they put the officers in, well, the former officers are now in jail, hopefully maybe to de-escalate the situation. But of course, we're going to see agitators and Antifa start riots in other places, like in solidarity, like that's going to do anything. It's really shameful. I guess I haven't seen all of the footage yet either. I've only seen two of them. The first one they launched, like, oh, it's warning, it's going to be graphic, and then it's like the guy that's like the least in the action, or he gets the part of the pepper spray, and he's not there, so it's kind of unclear at first. And I haven't seen like the when they pulled him over. I don't have a problem with the cops roughing a guy up if he's, dangerous and he's doing some really bad things, resisting arrest. But once I saw the footage from like the street camera on this, when you see the whole thing on display, they clearly went above and beyond. That was awful what they did. They have no justification for that. And I don't know what they're thinking. They're wearing body cams, but I don't know if they think that they can get away with that or why they would go that far. I need more to the story, but I mean, there's no justification for that. And I'm hoping that by putting these guys in jail up front, that will take some of the violence out of tonight and this weekend, but not holding my breath.
Antifa is going to amp it up and ramp it up as much as they can. But the thing is, Blake, is that he went for my gun. Well, if you're beating the fucker to death, yeah, of course he's going to go for your gun. I mean, that's crazy shit. Candace, is this the beginning of, is Antifa going to use this as their excuse to riot in cities all across the United States and have the National Guard called out? And will that then result in cities going on lockdown, which is a step towards martial law? What do you think?
I'm just having deja vu. This has all happened before, and I don't think there's anything new under the sun. What are we looking at? We're looking at another incident that is very timely because there's a whole nother thing happening out there, and that is that the internet is being taken control over by the white hats. And, I've been researching this for a long time, and I'll tell you, there's Dinesh D'Souza's out there, a whole cast of people that I actually respect that have said the same thing, that Google has not capitulated completely, and they're going to end up being a public utility. And they don't want that. AT&T just X'd Newsmax off of their DirecTV lineup. No, this is what really is going on. The rest of this is staged, and it is unfortunate that they have a lot of actors out there that are willing to work for them. Obviously, this is the deep state's common modus operandi. When they start to go sour or go south on one of their main issues, they just put up a false flag. And yes, it is. It's the weekend here that we're going to go into, and I sent you some maps of some of the hot areas. And
let me go look for it.
I put them on Telegram, so on your personal thing. And the last one that I put up is really good, actually, because it's kind of a GIF, and it actually has a kind of a real time sort of thing. I also got a notice that they have sent the National Guard into Georgia and or into Atlanta, and they had called for them. Kemp, the governor there, has asked them to come over to protect them because they know what's going on. And part of this is all the attacks you're going to see are all in, guess what? The states that have been defrauded in 2020. And, this is there's three issues I just, stated. All of them are far more important than, what you could say is some sort of skirmish between somebody. And just think about the one that happened in, Minneapolis, was the black guy. The guy put his knee on his, head. It's always the case where they knew each other before and they ended up fighting with a dummy, and that somebody got shot and died, and it's all fabricated. So what are we watching? We're watching a movie.
Yeah. Okay. Candace, why is it that you just you fill up the airwaves when I don't have something to do, and when I do have something I'm trying to do, you cut short? Brooks, fill in for me while I put together a slideshow of what Candace
all right. This goes back to the year 2013, a little nonprofit that was formed called OFA, Organizing for Action. Who was it organized by? Barack Obama, while he was still president, by the way.
Right. Okay.
It got frowned upon. It also got fully funded. And during one of his exit interviews, as he was stepping down, or his presidency was over, they had 25,000 professional activists all over the country. That number doubled in the year that he got out of office. It doubled to 50,000. These are people that fly all over the country, and they mobilize within a matter of hours, and they are called the Black Bloc. They dress in black. They have adopted all the Antifa signs and flags and symbols and stuff, which look very swastika-ish to me. But they're designed to move as one and act as one and hide their identity. And they're there to create mayhem so that it creates money for lawyers and for their cause.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, it's hugely well-funded. So what you see going on right now with Antifa, don't be fooled. This is a professional activity. It is being run by Barack Obama and foreign actors that are pouring money into this country to try to burn, rape, pillage, loot, and cause mayhem. And what they're trying to do is force that martial law that you were talking about, Mike. If they can force that, they can force that overreaction, just like these cops down in Memphis, then the public will rebel. And that's what they're trying to do with OFA. This all goes back to Barack Obama.
Interesting. Keep talking. I'm not quite ready yet. Hang on.
So,
Candace, I downloaded your pictures. I just can't. I'm just trying to find them here and get them into a presentation that we can show. So just keep going.
I have some proof too, because while Trump was rallying hot and heavy before his election, some of these guys were trying to cause riots, and they actually did shut down the rally in Chicago because of this. They injured a cop and injured a police horse, and they thought they were there. They were Bernie Bros, but they weren't. These were Black Bloc, and they're getting better and better at it because they're getting more and more money at it, and they're also becoming international. Really doing this in other countries as well. It's all the same organization, and the thing you have to worry about is that this is really a color revolution that they're trying to work. And what happened on, I think it was the 10th of January, Joe Biden met with the president of Mexico and the prime minister or president of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and they signed the North American Union Declaration. That's a treaty. Senate never saw it. We never got to vote on it. But this declaration, I'm going to cover it Sunday night, is huge. And it is amazing how much of our sovereignty Joe Biden just gave up by signing this agreement.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to hang on a second, guys. I'm going to try to get this
And that's good. Marcos in the chat room says Antifa is the U.S. brown shirts. That's not exactly true.
No.
This is the U.S. KKK.
I'm going to take it one further. Can I just interject this, because I know a lot about these folks. They the first place they came after was Seattle, Washington. Amazingly enough, they are born and bred from Bend, Oregon, and they set up camps there. They did training. They recruited from all over the country. They were funded by Soros. This is a Soros organization, and they were outfitted with all black military outfits and comm things. They had on headphones and kind of satellite markers in their pants pockets and in their vests. They were very well outfitted. They showed up in Seattle during the the Trans-Pacific get together they had there.
The Pacific.
The summer
thing.
They came down there. I was down there at that time. I had come back to visit. I was helping people wear their dolphin costumes. This came out of Fremont, Washington, which I lived there for many years and used to participate in their solstice parade, where they had the bicyclists that ran naked. It was a lot of fun. And we had we had a presence there, and we were all just marching along with the dolphin outfits. We were, protesting, quote unquote. But they showed up, and guess what they did? It's exactly what they did in Atlanta. They started breaking windows. They have, what they call car jacks, which are just, a thing you buy that you can crack open a window if you get in an accident or whatever. And they broke some big, those big double pane, things on the Bank of America down there. And it became people were just freaked the frick out because they were on these bicycles, and there was probably, I wouldn't say there were a lot, maybe 25 of them. And they came in, waves, and it was very impressive. But, our good chief of police that was running Seattle at that time, a guy named Glenn Shepard, I think, he was taken by surprise. And that has become their tactic. They have a playlist, they have a script, they are actually just very well coordinated.
Well, they're trained, and that's part of the
They're
OFA.
trained.
They bring them in, they train them in urban warfare and to cover their faces and dress all in the same color. So law enforcement can't say, he was medium height, wearing black, wearing a mask. You can't identify.
They all were,
person. And what they do is they teach these people you can't get arrested and nothing's going to happen to you as long as you all move as one. They're not going to arrest you all. But what they were doing is they were tracking the phones of the coordinators. And as soon as they got off to the side, they bagged them and took them off in a van. And a lot of them got arrested. 2 hours later, they're back on the streets. But they've had their DNA sampled, their pictures taken, their fingerprints taken, and they've been told, if you show up again, we're following you. We know exactly who you are. You're going to disappear.
But it doesn't do any good unless you make them disappear. Okay, guys. Here's what Candace sent me. This is Memphis. The National Sheriff's Association issued a warning to sheriff's departments. This was yesterday. That body camera footage of a man being beaten by Memphis police could spark violence in Memphis and other places around the country. The video will reportedly be released this afternoon. It was. The 5 Memphis Police Department officers involved in the death of Tyree Nichols have already been fired and charged with second-degree murder. Atlanta Forest Defenders released a target map and list of recommended actions for activists. Potential targets include donors to the Atlanta Police Fund, corporations funding the planned Atlanta training facility, and construction contractors. The list of proposed actions ranges from moving money out of banks to settling caltrops on the road. And then there's video of this. Okay, that's great. That worked out great, Mike. That video. Fuck PowerPoint. That's video of National Guard in Atlanta. And Candace, here are the cities you identified as where the riots are planned for. Atlanta, Miami's down there too. We can't see it. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Denver, Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston, Baltimore, Washington, D.C. A bunch of these, Atlanta, Denver, L.A., Detroit, Chicago, Philly. These are areas where, massive voter fraud took place. So, Candace, what do you think? I mean, is this planned to let them do this? Burks has got one scenario on the martial law, and you've got another one. What do you think? Candace?
Uh-oh.
My dear.
Sorry, here I am. The idea is that they're going after the cities that are the commonplace areas that are primarily liberal. I mean, let's figure that out real quickly, and that they're easily controlled and duped. I mean, you've got to have a very small amount of people really to create great havoc if you have a trained group that is basically performing in front of people that don't care to get involved. If they did that here in Montana, which I want to note to you on the map, they're not going to come into Montana. And because we would shoot them dead. It would take, shoot, shovel, shut up, and it's over. But they allow this.
I'm actually worried that some of these kids will get duped into this new gang that they're part of. Hey, I'm part of Barack Obama's gang, and they're going to get themselves killed. This is what they want. They're sacrificing these kids. They're putting these kids
they don't care.
in harm's way. They know that if the people rebel and start beating these kids to death, just like these cops in Memphis, it's going to cause the exact kind of division that they're looking for.
Well, they are looking for division, but I think they're also looking, my theory is that it's more of a distraction because it's what it takes up, as we used to call the media cycle. Okay. If you look at this as they're working together behind the scenes. And I believe that, Barack Obama certainly was involved in this, although I don't think he has enough brains to rub his fingers together and come up with a thought. I think that this is very much higher on the food chain and that they basically just want to create chaos so that they can show it on TV and call us all, right-wing radicals and come up with all sorts of hate speech against us that they have done for how long now, that we've been fighting. And, all I can say is that, the brilliance of Trump is to just stand back and go like, here it is, folks. This is what you wanted. This is what you got, and the rest of us are unfortunately in a situation where we're sort of having to bite our tongues and kind of stay in the background, which is not a pleasant thought, but I have plenty to do while I'm here. And basically the world goes on, what disturbs me more, and I'll just kind of throw this out, is that this has started to grab a hold of other countries. And, for example, I would say Brazil. Brazil has a presence of what I would call deep state operators. And there is a movement within the people to basically take back their country. They liked it under their former president.
It's never happened. I mean, the guy fled the country and there's nobody fighting and the military's not helping. And Brazil has been taken over by the deep state, just like the United States has. So I don't see how's that going to help us, Candace? I mean, Brazil's not amounting to anything because people don't have any guns.
Right.
Well, there is. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the same thing's happening overseas, too. When you see the streets filled with millions and millions of people, it looks like a rock concert. It doesn't look like a revolution. When a million of us went to Washington, we were totally peaceful. We were there to say one thing. We know what you did. We're here to register a grievance against our government. We know what you did. That's why we went to Washington. And we didn't cause mayhem, but it also didn't do any good. And one by one, they're going to hunt most of the people that got close enough to the Capitol, they're going to hunt them down and they're going to arrest them. Hopefully they all get pardoned someday, but I diverge. I want to say unequivocally, there is no such thing. It does not exist, a blue state. There's no such thing as a blue state. There are only blue cities. And the problem is states have become as big as nations were when this country was founded. And it says in the Constitution that every state is guaranteed a Republican form of government. It says it right in the Constitution, not the Bill of Rights, the original Constitution. Well, guess what? States don't have a Republican form of government. They are a democracy. Mob rules, and the mob is in the city. States need to adopt an electoral college inside their state so that cities don't dominate the state. Chicago is no longer Illinois. LA is no longer California. Everybody in the state gets a voice.
Well, we've been trying to do that for a while now, and I've got to say that this is a movement I've worked with for quite a long time now. The National Liberty Alliance is a set of people that are, bound and determined to turn this into a constitutional republic. And in fact, there's more information coming out about that. I saw another program yesterday and one today as well that are about the folks that are really in the know, that are saying Trump's not going to come back as a president of the United States corporation. There's no interest in that. There's no ability in a corporation to address anything. It's all about what makes them money. That's why child trafficking got so huge. And that's why they're, running these, infiltrators in from Mexico and moving them around the country and installing them in all these hotels. There's hotels that haven't had a legitimate, client for 2 years now. They're full of, unfortunately, it's Hispanics and people from South America. So, what we have right now is a broken system. And where we've been trying to not go into revolutionary war or war in the streets, basically that's exactly what they've started doing now. They've said, we have no choice, is that, you have no choice, and that you are going to, either be having to involve yourself in these street fights, that it's a lose-lose situation. They took out Stuart Rhodes, who basically, I knew him. He was in Idaho and 3%er, and they've now convicted him of crimes for, J6. And we still have over 50 people that are sitting there and, being convicted of things that are just, it's silly. And so, yeah, we've got a broken system. The thing is that what's going to fix it is going to be something that is not going to be very palatable to people. And I think that's where, we're kind of looking down that court of public opinion right now.
Well, I think what's going to fix it is the same thing that fixed the French Revolution.
Storm the Bastille.
Which we should have started on 5 years ago. But, we all know, of course, that Trump has a time machine, and if we had done that, the world would have ended. So we know that that's not going to work, because the quantum computer told us that. What if the quantum computer is full of shit? Anybody ever thought about that? And after all, it was built and programmed by people. By the way, I wanted to add one other thing. Blake, do you have any thoughts on the quantum computer being full of shit? The quantum computer that predicts the future. Any thoughts on it?
It's programmed to get our hopes up and then absolutely just blindside us, and we're all ruined. I have no idea. I hope not.
Yeah, Q told us all along, trust Sessions, trust Ray, trust Durham, trust Barr. They all appear to be fucking traitors at this point, because now the rumor is Durham's going to release a report and wrap everything up, and he's never really prosecuted anybody except one guy that we all knew was guilty, but he was never going to get a conviction in D.C., so Barr's going to be a big nothing. So, or not Barr, but Durham. It's not looking very good for the home team at this point, is it, Brooks?
I'll tell you, war is justice denied. Right now, we're in the justice cycle. And if we don't get justice, we will go to war. That's all there is to it. Society has a cycle. Mercy peace, justice, war. We're in the justice cycle now. The one thing that holds this nation together is the law. The law is the king. Everybody obeys the law equally, and the law disperses equally, but it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. We have 2 or 3 different levels of the law. If you're a Democrat, they don't get prosecuted. Everybody sees it, everybody knows it, and everybody's fed up with it. And I really like what Rand Paul said, I think it was yesterday, said what we need to do is take the top 10% of the DOJ and fire them.
Yeah. Yep. You know, it's funny. There's a philosophy in aerospace that, you know, when you have a big program, you should always be rotating out your bottom 10% of employees, of engineers who aren't cutting it, who aren't getting the job done. And you know that well, Brooks. I've never been in that bottom 10% myself, but
it's a waste of money.
But what you do is you bring in, and the reason you have a bottom 10% is because there aren't very many good engineers out there in the first place. So you're just bringing in another bottom 10%. But the same thing applies here. Maybe get rid of the top 10% of all government agencies is the best thing to do, the best way to clean it up. And when I say get rid of it, I mean French Revolution style. Personally, I would like us to move to the kill them all and let God sort them out phase of this, Brooks. Myself, that's where I'm at.
I have that patch on my motorcycle vest.
But I've been there for a while. Okay, one other thing I wanted to share is Emerald Robinson. Dave Barra sent me this tweet. Emerald Robinson, who I really like, talking about Damar Hamlin, the earlier subject, and she had a really great tweet today. Number of Buffalo Bills fans with pics of Damar Hamlin as he visits the team facility, 0. Number of Buffalo sports radio stations doing interviews with Damar Hamlin, 0. Number of videos of Damar Hamlin with his family and friends, 0. So she's a pretty basic, standard, reporter with ties to Donald Trump. I think she used to work for the Trump White House. When she's saying this, shit's weird. And I think this is to our advantage, because the weirder the shit is, the more awake people are going to get. Okay, Brooks, we're going to move on. Okay. Today or yesterday, a couple days ago, Biden promised 31 Abrams M1A1 tanks to Ukraine. But the problem is they don't actually have 31 tanks available right now, because our armed forces are spread so thin because of all the Biden budget cuts. He's destroyed our military all over the world, and they're basically saying, well, it's going to take a year to get them there. So a lot of people are saying this was designed to pressure Germany into sending Leopard tanks. But let's just take a look at the M1A1 Abrams in action. And remember that its glory heyday was in 1991 in Operation Desert Storm. Here's the M1A1 Abrams that is going to be taking on the Russians. Well, how long do you think it's going to take the Ruskies to take out 31 of those death
31
traps?
minutes. 31 minutes. And by the way, the M1 Abrams was designed to run on sand.
Pretty loud. Let me mute it. Go ahead, Brooks. Go ahead.
That tank was designed to run on sand and dirt.
Yep.
It cannot operate in snow and ice. It can't. It just slides around like a 2-wheel drive pickup truck on wet grass. It is useless. But here's the deal. Yeah, it's foreplay.
And the thing is, too, is that, by the way, Brooks, that video you just saw, that's some goat fucker in Iraq taking out on a
Bull Taco 125. Yeah, I know. He rides up on a Bull Taco 125 and shoots an RPG, and that's the end of that.
All right. So
That's not the big news. This is just foreplay, okay? This is just these are fluff tanks. The big news is the Leopard tanks, because here's the thing. According to the Potsdam Agreement, Germany cannot supply weapons to Ukraine. It is against that treaty.
Yeah.
Joe Biden just coerced Germany to violate the Potsdam Agreement. That can't be. That is the beginning of World War III. As soon as those German tanks cross the border into Ukraine, it's World War III. And I got to tell you, Russia has firepower the world can't stop. It has hypersonic missiles, nuclear tipped. And by the way, there's a ship 24 miles off the coast of Hawaii, and there's a sub off the coast of the eastern United States. They have these weapons. Hypersonic missiles cannot be stopped. They also have the Belgorod, which is a submarine that carries a Poseidon drone torpedo. Once it's launched, it can't be called back. It just runs its program. Unless it comes to the surface and communicates with a satellite, it's blind, deaf, and dumb. It just runs its program. It has a 50 megaton nuke on it that can create a radioactive tidal wave that would wipe out any city it chooses, from Shanghai to New York. And guess what? That land would be uninhabitable for 20 years. These are badass weapons, and we're playing a very dangerous game here.
Yeah, it's funny. There's people mocking this whole thing. They're showing a bunch of T-34-85s on a train, saying this is Russia's response. And I keep hearing people saying, oh, Ukraine's winning and all this other stuff. And Kim.com, who is the guy who took the DNC emails from John Podesta from Seth Rich and gave them to Julian Assange to publish in 2016, said something that I don't really agree with him. I don't think he really knows what's going on. He thinks he does. But he said, do not underestimate the seriousness of the situation. Russia will shortly begin a major offensive with 500,000 fresh troops to demilitarize Ukraine, while Zelensky rips untrained middle-aged men from their family homes and sends them to die. If NATO troops get involved, it's World War III. I mean, they basically, the war rhetoric from NATO in Brussels, from diplomats, from Americans is, we have to defeat Russia. We have to take the Crimea back. I have news for you. The Crimea ain't yours. It's Russia's. It's always been Russia's. Has it moved to the point now, Brooks?
Well,
has it moved to the point where Putin,
you could end this war
not satisfied with just what he's got and the Donbass and that he's now going to take all of Ukraine? Hasn't moved to that point.
This is equivalent to if we were fighting a war in Tijuana.
Right.
Okay. Russia doesn't have to mobilize nothing. Everything is there. All they have to do is drive over the border and make it happen.
Right.
We could very effectively fight a war all the way to Mexico City, and nobody in the world could stop us. It's the same thing with Russia. Russia can stop any supply chain anytime they want, 1,000 miles from Ukraine. They're just over the border. But I'll tell you how to stop this war in 30 minutes flat. The U.S. needs to cut off all payments to NATO until they withdraw back behind the 2008 positions they had. That would end the war in 30 minutes. Putin would go home. The 4 states on the eastern side of Ukraine would decide their own independence, and the war would be over just like that.
But fake Biden's not going to do that, so we have to have Trump in office in order for that to happen.
Right on.
And Candace, where are we at?
I just have good news. We have now put in for a rehearing on the Brunson case. In fact, this just happened yesterday.
Yep.
It has been taken in, and that I feel that this is now time for the SCOTUS to act. I believe they will, because you look at what's going on out there, and that suit would take them all out immediately. And they can do that. They can act on it.
Usefulness.
Well, the thing is that that's what needs to be done right now, because you're right. I mean, unless Biden is gone and we can reinstall Trump and get back control of this country, and it would happen, in an hour or two.
Yeah.
They don't have to do anything else but just go like, it's law, we plaintiffs have prevailed. So, there's that out there. And there is also confusion within the Democrat ranks that have become very, very obvious lately. They're at each other's throats. You've got Schiff and Swalwell, who have been kicked off any of the Intelligence Committee, and they're just crying like babies. I mean, it's hilarious to watch this, but it's also the case where the big boys are now, in control, and Trump is the proxy Speaker of the House who will take over the presidency if both Biden and Harris are found incompetent. And it's, it could happen in any number of ways. And I mean, we're in amazing times right now, but, I want to confirm about the subs that are off of not only Hawaii, but Alaska. And then
really?
also the East Coast. Yes, I did a sit rep today.
Hawaii, but I didn't know the one about the West. I didn't know that one.
We've got P8s and P3s in the air, which are the sub hunters. And those are off of both those areas. And then there's also some down in the LA area. And we've got a whole host of drones and other surveillance stuff down at the port of Long Beach Harbor. And that is significant because what does that have to do with? Well, that has to do with any of the Chinese that are left over from that whole, land exchange that they did out there that Trump squashed. And, there's also a sub base that is under that area, supposedly, that belongs to us. And so, we're in a position we're ready for whatever they have to dish out. But I seriously doubt that the Russians are there to actually attack us. I think they're there just, well, the whole thing is that we're actually, if Trump is commander in chief, I'll be so bold to say that, him and Putin are having phone calls. And, the only way we're going to ferret out this, fraud in chief and his entire host of characters is to really, make it obvious again to the people that we don't want to have a nuclear war. We don't want to have something that would take out half of our population in an evening.
So, Candace, do you think that's the so-called scare event? And do you think that that's what's coming in Ukraine, is that's going to be the scare event that's going to force things into action?
I don't think people care about the Ukraine. I think what they care about is their own area.
Yeah, I mean, World War III.
You've got to make it personal. I mean, that's an unfortunate situation, but, it's just like these riots. I mean, there's good people that live in downtown Atlanta that are having to, put up with the burning of the cars and the horror show of, that kind of incident. I mean, I sure wouldn't want to live there, but it's, it is a crisis right now that is going to lead to what it is that we want as a result. I mean, so, it's hard to say, but that's probably.
Go ahead. Sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. You gonna
well,
finish?
That's probably at the end of the day, as I like to say, that most of us will survive. It's not, going to go to the point where we have war in the street. We're not going to have a civil war. We're not going to have nukes dropped. We're going to be in a situation where people are going to start to say, I just question all this. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to say, we need voter fraud reform, or voter reform. And we do have a lot of active states, out there that are doing the right thing. One of them is Arkansas, who elected, Sarah Huckabee Sanders as governor.
Yeah.
And boy, I tell you, she's firebrand.
Like her and DeSantis, who I don't trust, who are kind of leading by example. Brooks, a couple things I want to get back to.
Sure.
The Leopard tanks, they're not going to make it to the front. They got to put them on rail cars and train them in. And the second they cross the Polish border, they're going to be taken out. Those trains are going to be annihilated by Ruski missiles. And they're not any better a tank. They're not any better a tank than the M1. The Leopard, I think, was developed even before the M1. It's like a mid-70s design that's been updated, and it may be better suited for the European theater, but it's shit against missiles, so it's not going to turn the balance of power.
You can't. Tanks are an obsolete weapon in a battlefield that is controlled by artillery. When you have the Ukrainian side, the Allied side, let's call it, shooting 6,000 rounds, but you have the Russian side shooting 60,000 rounds, you can't drive a tank through that battlefield. There's no way.
No.
There's no way. And the artillery that the Russians have right now, it is so accurate. They can drop it in a mailbox. There's no way tanks can make it through that. And even if you sent 400 tanks, it wouldn't make a difference because the Russians have 4,000 tanks. And all they have to do is drive over the border.
So, Blake, we've been told all along that in order for flip to happen, for justice to be done, for political prisoners of January 6th to be released, and people like that might have been there and haven't been arrested yet to escape with their scalp and not get picked up by the feds. And I'm not going to mention anybody's name here, Blake. But in order for that to happen, we have to have martial law. We have to have lockdowns. We have to have EBS. We probably, it's been said by Jen and some other people that we love, that Biden is going to try to start World War III, which is demonstrably, I would say, what Biden is attempting to do by being completely irresponsible with his rhetoric and saying he's going to send tanks in an effort to pressure Germany to send tanks. So we've got National Guard deployed right now. We've got riots from Antifa. We've got a completely irresponsible president fake president. We've got the real president from the Southern White House in Mar-a-Lago making consistently provocative statements about what the hell he's going to do when he gets back in, which
those aren't statements. Those are policies. He's making policies.
Well, he's not making policy. I think he's stating policies that he's implemented is what it sounds like, the way his language is. And like Candace said, which I thought was real significant, Candace, that you pointed out, is he's acting like he's already the president. Which
that's right. And he doesn't say, if I get back in the White House. He's saying, when I'm back in the White House, this is what we're going to do.
And even then, the White House doesn't really mean anything. So you got all this stuff. We're on the brink of World War III. It's being pushed. China and Taiwan's been quiet. We haven't heard shit about that for a while, but I imagine that's the next thing to go. And riots in the streets are coming probably this weekend, probably tonight. If we go turn on our CNN, I'm sure we'll see them. Blake,
mostly peaceful.
Blake, it seems to me like the table is set. I hate to call it because people have been calling the RV for 10 years, but it's almost like this shit's about to go down. The financial world's on the brink of collapse. There was a bunch of moves happening in the financial world. There's people saying that if the financial system doesn't flip over to the new gold standard or whatever we're going to use, the asset standard, that the Chinese are just going to flood the world with the new money, and anybody who's not in the gold-backed system is just going to be bankrupt instantly, which would be us. So that's supposed to be Sunday night. So I don't know. I look at it and I say to myself, every box has been checked, for the return of the king that we said needed to happen for the return of the king. The only thing that hasn't happened yet is Biden removed and Trump publicly sworn in, because he was privately sworn in on November 12th, 2021, I think it was. So what the fizz? Blake, what do you think about all this?
Well, it could explain why they're going after Russia, and as well as meddling around in Brazil, potentially running the same playbook from January 6th, as you've mentioned, taking over, because that's part of the BRICS right there, right? BR, Brazil and Russia, India, China, South Africa. So that could be a very big threat to the Federal Reserve and the Americans and the world reserve currency. That's how we fund everything, is just by printing money out of thin air. We can't compete with the Russia and the China and all these using actually resource-backed currencies. So maybe that's the reason why they are stalling everything. If Bolsonaro would have won Brazil, and if the Ukraine thing was already over, then maybe it's checkmate, and we're going to be under the bricks, or that's when Trump comes back. I'm not sure how that plays out. So we'll see. But
all I'm arguing really is that everything that we talked about or that's been rumored, not necessarily believed by everybody on this panel, but it's all happening. It's all happening right now. And it's like, it seems like right now is the best time. And we keep hearing this stuff. And I'm like, maybe this shit's really, maybe this whole science fiction scenario is really about to go down. Brooks, Candace, anybody?
Well, we've been talking about this for a while, and I'm not a financial advisor, but when you watch what the ultra wealthy do when this occurs, is they get out of cash and they get into hard assets like silver, gold, land, things like that. They get into hard assets. I'll tell you how there's several different things that are pushing this. Carvana went bankrupt. That's one of the biggest used car networks in the country. That's going to dump a lot of used cars on the market. There's a car loan bubble. There's a mortgage bubble. And I tried to get a construction loan this month because I'm building a house. And right now I'm just building it out of my back pocket, but I want to accelerate things. Guess what the rates are on construction loans right now? 9%. 9%. And that's not like a mortgage. That's 9% of the unpaid balance each month. So if you've got $100,000 accumulated in materials on your house, that's $9,000 a month.
Yikes.
Why is it under construction? Yeah. It slammed construction, stopped it dead in its tracks. No one's building right now. I don't have to worry because I don't have a mortgage or a loan right now, but there are builders out there that have loans out, and that interest is eating.
And nobody's buying with those with the interest rates as high as they are. The mortgage interest
it's
rate.
Adjustable rate. It's adjustable rate. Every 30 days they can adjust the interest based on what the Fed does. Who would step into an agreement like that? Nobody.
That's insane. Yeah. That's hard.
What's the stop?
Well, they want us all to stay in place too, right? I mean, part of this is all the strategy that they don't want people moving around, and with the price of gas and food not being available.
Want money into assets either. That's why the interest rate is so damn high. Yeah. They don't want you building your own house.
Nope.
They'll repossess your house just off the interest of the construction loan. You're not even in the mortgage yet, and they're repossessing. And this is happening all over the country. It's nationwide. So there are a lot of bubbles out there. So I ask people, look, if you've got $10 or $20 or $30,000 in your checking account every month, and I have friends that have that kind of money, you're stupid. Take at least 25% of that money and put it into gold or silver. Yep. Is the gold or silver going to go up in price? Probably not. I mean, not appreciably, but you won't lose it because the bank could just take the money.
I think the silver is likely to go up some. I think as high as $500 because it's so undervalued. But that's when we're in science fiction world, Brooks.
Yeah, because if it goes up that high, no more computer screens, no more cell phones, no more electric cars.
Yep.
That comes to an end if silver goes up that high.
Yep. Well, no, the markets will adjust. I think that's the new price. I think that's the new price.
The age of $180 computer monitor are over.
Right. Okay, that's what I've got. I know there's probably some other stuff in the news we want to talk about. Let's go around the horn. Let's start with you, TV's Blake Wally. Any other stories you think we haven't covered? There's lots. There's so many things out there to talk about. But what else do you think is really important that we haven't covered yet on this roundtable show tonight?
Well, I think there's a few, and one of the things I want to bring up, because I don't know if it was on the chat overlay earlier and speaking since I'm in Memphis, was Deborah P. in our chat mentioned, because she's apparently lives in that area, saying that she thinks this might be because the victim here, Tyre Nichols, was having an affair with one of the cops' girlfriends, wives, whatever. There's some adultery at play here. Maybe that's
Okay,
that would explain why he would run from the cops and resist arrest, because he knows he's at the minimum going to get his ass kicked, and then who knows what happens beyond that. So that would be an interesting twist to the story.
Very interesting twist.
Absolutely. So I'm glad she brought that up. A couple other things. I mean, we did just barely touch on it. Of course, Brooks mentioned it earlier, is that the Pfizer executive getting busted. Project Veritas, that was their most viral video ever. I think YouTube actually censored one of the videos. I think it's where they confronted the Pfizer director as he had his epic meltdown, getting busted there. Waiting for his date to appear, and it was James O'Keefe. A little surprise. I didn't like that. We also did not mention the Paul Pelosi, the hammer attack. That video also got released.
Hammer time. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I forgot hammer time. Oops, did we lose Blake? We did.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting that, he's there in his boxer shorts getting hammered with his friend, and the cops show up.
There we are.
From there.
Oh, Blake's back now. Hey, Blake.
Hey, hello. I dropped out again.
Right. Is Blake Wally a narc or an alien? I can't decide.
Ooh, I may be an alien, yeah. That's that I'm narc about that I know of. What kind of narc? I'll have to get the context on that at some point.
Yeah, they did show the hammer time video, and something really freaking weird was going on that night. That's for sure. So
yeah, we all speculated quite a bit. Why don't they just show the guy smashing into the window with a hammer? Unless maybe they did that post-production Hollywood just to make it look like it.
Yeah. They did show video of him supposedly smashing the window. I still don't know how, if you smash a window this way, the debris ends up back that way. I don't know how that works, because the glass is going to go the direction of the hammer striking it, not the opposite way. So,
and where's the security, unless they were maybe allowing that to happen? Because you would think, how does that happen to one of the most wealthy families in this elite neighborhood? And it doesn't trigger an alarm unless they shut off the alarm. I don't know. I don't want to go back into the conspiracy thing, but that was, it was pretty horrific situation for him. As much as I despise the Pelosi's, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Anyway, now that the truth is coming out with the body cam footage, I wonder if the original newscaster that reported what happened, I wonder if he's going to come back.
No.
Remember, they fired him because he pretty much said exactly what that cam said, and they fired him.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he'll be active and talking about it if he's got any care for his.
The clue phone is really about the time lag. Why did it take them, 6 weeks? This happened a long time ago, right? I mean, if they were going to show footage, it would have had to have been the next day for it to be even remotely authentic, as far as I'm concerned. This was cobbled together. It has different camera angles, if you noticed, and it has some really flaky special effects. I mean, it's just like, God, I'm just having these flashbacks that this has all been done before. This is like how they set up a lot of these incidences that, again, were the distraction factor. It all has to do with absurd circumstances, with people that are, dressed in shorts and basically carrying a hammer. It's absurd. It's comedy of the absurd.
It was underwear. Yeah, don't get
Boxers,
hammered. Yeah, don't get hammered with your friend. What and I don't know about you, Blake, but as much as I like you, I am never ever gonna sit around and drink scotch with you in my underwear, and you in your underwear. We're just not gonna do that. You and me and Brooks, that ain't gonna happen. Underwear, scotch, and hammers do not go together if you're men. That's all I'm saying. Especially if you're a straight man. That's all I gotta say. All I gotta say. That ain't.
All right, cheers.
It's like, Blake, I like you, but no, never. Not even if we spent 10 years together in a Turkish prison. All right. Dr. Brooks Agnew, you have any other subjects you want to discuss tonight before we roll out of here? I don't have a top 5, by the way. So,
well, I just think that I don't want people to lose hope, because the nation and the world could be fixed with a very small number of things being done right at the right time by the right person. Let the oil flow again, seal off the border, make a major move on income tax, transferring to a sales tax. Very simple things that could be done that could literally save the entire world. And all it takes is leadership. Right now, we don't have leadership. We have a very decentralized news organization, which we are. This is the best roundtable on the internet, bar none, right here. But we're decentralized. We don't work for anybody. Nobody pays us money. We come together. We share our ideas. The audience gets to retweet it or reshare it with Rumble, and it grows. That's
so nobody has
how
any.
we get our ideas out.
All right, and nobody has any leverage on us, so we can say whatever the fuck we want.
Right.
Yeah, Blake, not even in a Turkish prison. Okay, Candace, and only older people like Brooks will really get that joke.
Older. Look, listen to him.
Well, folks like me and Brooks, older folks. 53 years old and older. Candace, any final thoughts or anything else you want to cover that we haven't talked about? There's really so much happening. And what do you think of my proposal that we're on the actual brink here of something?
Well, there's no doubt we're on the brink of something here, because it's all broken. I mean, I personally work on the internet every day and do the research, and that's what my big story is that we are shifting the networks over to a secure 6G format, which is lightwave, ability, and it's coming from our fiber optics and then also from the Starlink, and we're also eliminating all their switches, which is really they've been able to steal our data and destroy our social media and go against our communications for 2 years now, and I'm done. It's time for us to get back the power of the people, and the way that we're going to do it is, and I have said this for a long time, is the first thing to go down is going to be the internet, and that's what has happened this week. So I feel that this has started. Google's going out of their minds. They're blocking me from getting to the Schumann resonance, and I thought that was kind of significant. They've also got a big mess going on that's happening in Google. The other players are Jeff Bezos with Amazon, and then, of course, Bill Gates with Microsoft. And I just discovered something interesting this week. I was talking with somebody, and we were discussing, how Microsoft grew up. And I happen to have been there. I worked in Microsoft. I was a contractor. I'd go in for their annual meetings. I actually was in the room when Tom Brokaw came in and appeared and was talking to Bill Gates about the merger of internet and mainstream media. It became MSNBC, and that was back in the late 90s when I was working, with film production. And that particular format has really become what it is that they are relying on to be able to get their evil deeds done. And this liaison, this set of events that have happened lately shows me that there is a real financial incentive out there now, because we're $31.4 trillion in debt. This is all fiat currency. Not a whit of it exists in real life. We can't comprehend those numbers. And basically, companies like Microsoft, who have built a back end into every one of their products that are out there and have been selling you antiviruses for viruses that are sent to you in the machines that are created. I think you said that once, Mike. It has been expanded 100-fold. And this is the way that they are going around the world with DDoS attacks, which I just looked at a graph that is on the internet that I follow. 27.2 gigs of power is being shot into a in an area that's not too far from where you are, Mike. It's in Bellevue. In fact, it's very close to Redmond.
Yep.
And I suspect that these networks that they are attacking are going down. If they have not come on board with this light wave technology, and on Sunday morning you can go on to Twitter, and they're launching another SpaceX shot up to Starlink, which is going to have the finishing group of laser connectors that are going to be in play immediately as soon as they send them up there. And this is what we've been waiting for, those of us that have been following this. I knew the last time I said that they had just launched one, and they had informed the people that, again, pay attention, that this was going to be done one more time and that they would have a completed network. It will be available around the world. And then, for the efforts of all of us, it's going to shift the entire control mechanism that exists behind all these platforms that we are on every day. And it's going to be like a whole new world. And this is, I think, we're on the verge of that. And that's all I can say. I believe that it is within the next 2 weeks, we should really see some major, major things happen.
A lot of people agree with you, Candace. A lot of people agree with you. Okay, Candace Whitelight, Frequency of the Earth is her Facebook page. You can find her on 107 on Telegram, RRM McAfee Decodes on Telegram, all kinds of other cool stuff. Dr. Brooks Agnew can be found amongst many other places. I'm going to post it right here. And Brooks, why don't you tell everybody how they can get some of this? Yesterday, Brooks, I had a bunch of I had some back pain and body aches, and I thought, well, shit, this is either strained muscles or I'm catching something. So just in case I was catching something, I popped a couple of these suckers, and everything went away because it turned out to be muscular. But hey, what the hell? Still, why don't you tell everybody where they can get, and why is it not coming up, where they can get their Ivan and Roxy. And don't forget, he's going to be on tomorrow night at 8 Eastern time on
Sunday night. That's live though. You can catch it all at on Rumble. Just look my name up, Brooks Agnew. All the episodes are there. You go to my website, brooksagnew.com. Go right to the top where it says store. And if you're on a phone, it's easy to just roll over store. If you're on a PC, it's roll over store and hit shop. Both are the same. Click the therapeutics button there, and it will take you directly to the page where you can buy ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine directly from the manufacturer. These are at cost, so I'm not making any markup on this. It ships directly from the manufacturer to you. We've got it down to about 12 to 15 days now, and lots of people have gotten this in their arsenal. Other variants coming down the road. And by the way, the NIH, National Institute of Health, now has, and you see the link there on the webpage there, now has papers out showing where ivermectin is effective against all kinds of cancers. And I do have several people that have written me that had various kinds of cancers, some stage 3, some stage 4, in remission. Now, I don't know if it'll work against lung cancer and all that stuff, but some cancers it does work on because the ivermectin works on the same mechanism. It goes after this protein that these cancer cells and viruses use to replicate, and it ties it up so it can't function. And then the body just flushes that virus out. It literally works. It will rid the body of any variant of COVID in about 8 hours. It is quite remarkable.
Yeah, that's the thing is, my stomach was bugging me a little bit, and I thought, well, I'm just going to take this so I don't puke in case I got the flu. It turned out I didn't have any of it, but still, it was well worth having. And thanks to you, I've got quite a bit of it here, and I don't, I'm not concerned about viruses to speak of. So.
Lots of your listeners do too. And yes, I can get antibiotics. You just have to ask me which ones. Yes, we can get.
And Brooks has gotten me some. other medications, steroids. Yeah, I have some stomach issues, and the roids work really well on those, believe it or not. And I did a sort of little prednisone scale.
Oh, good.
Myself, and I've been feeling great ever since, but I stopped taking it. But yeah, it's really good stuff. So, all right, that I think is going to wrap it up. Next week, Deb, I think it's a good idea to do your idea, which is top 5 scandals. I like that. I'm not ready for it tonight. We had so much news. Here's the problem, Deb. I think we're going to have so much news, we're going to be wiped out by the time we get around to a top 5 thing.
I got my top 5 singers.
Or Rick Norm says top 5 scandals. So I like that. I don't think he spelled it right, though. But yeah, Rick will go for top 5 scandals. All right. One last thing before we go. Blake Wally, TV's Blake Wally. Who do you got in the AFC NFC Championship games on Sunday?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think the Bengals are playing pretty well. I'm going to have to roll with them. And I hate Philly. So I'm going to have to go with the 49ers there. I guess I'm going to take the 49ers all the way, even though I like Cincinnati. But as a Vikings fan, I don't want to see anybody else that hasn't won a Super Bowl yet win a Super Bowl until the Vikings. Then I can relax. So no Bills, no Bengals, nothing personal. But as soon as we're out of the 0-4 area, then everybody can win one.
Brooks, Agnew.
I love Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a city that's built for sports. You can see the Reds and you can see the Bengals, and they're like the stadiums are right next to each other, right there on the river. I'm going to go with the Bengals. They're great winners. Great winners.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Bengals and the Eagles, and the Bengals to win it all. It's interesting. I fantasize about the RV happening or winning a multi-billion-dollar lottery and buying the Seahawks from the current idiot owners and firing Pete Carroll and John Schneider 2 seconds after as soon as the ink is not even dry yet. And I say, Pete, you're fired. John, you're fired. And I draft a quarterback and we go on. And I run the team the right way. But I had a dream years ago, one of those really strong dreams, like the ones that feel like they're real, like it really is going to happen. And I did own an NFL team, but it was the Bengals.
Oh.
So I'm going to root for the Bengals. I'm going to root for my team that I'm eventually going to be the owner of, because Mike Brown is a shit owner, but he may get lucky. I know that wasn't your idea, Deb, but I like it better than whatever idea you have. So I'm going to go with the Bengals and the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I think I'm going to take the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow is the next Tom Brady, and I think that's interesting stuff. And speaking of Tom Brady, I wonder how life is. He's got a new 25-year-old girlfriend. I don't think life's too bad, for
when
Tom
you lose
Brady.
a lot of money with FTX, though, he lost a lot of money.
He
like
did lose
big
like
part
$30
of his
million
listing.
with FTX or something like that. He should have bought New Gen, which is about to go.
I have New Gen, and I'm up 50% since I bought it.
Well,
Thank you very much.
have you been getting the emails, because they're going to sell New Gen?
They're going to go to Ethereum. Everything's going to Ethereum.
It's really interesting, because what's happening, Candace, is that it looks like a lot of these cryptos, the ones that have some value, are being bought out by big companies, and I think they're going to be taken off the markets. There's only going to be a few cryptos left, but if the rumors are correct, I stand to make, a nice enough of a chunk of change, Brooks, to have a nice weekend in Vegas, pay off all my bills, and buy some silver. So we'll see.
Right on.
Might be a good week this week. All right. That's going to wrap it up for Candace Whitelight in Montana, for Dr. Brooks Agnew in the Carolinas somewhere, who we're going to see in Roswell in March. And for TV's Blake Wally, thank you guys for being here. Oh, yeah, I'm doing Roswell in March. I'm doing Spruce Pine, North Carolina. I think Brooks is going to join me there for that gig. It's going to be fun in June. And probably not Alien Con or Contact in the Desert seems to have some hard on for me too. We shall see. But if you see any advertisements for Contact in the Desert or Alien Con, just ask him, hey, I'd love to come. Is Mike Barra going to speak? Just
I've been doing that. I've been doing that.
And Brooks Agnew, is Brooks Agnew going to be there? Any social media you see from Alien Con or Contact in the Desert, let's make their lives as uncomfortable as possible. All right. Well, you guys have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday with Jen for the Monday Morning Gentel show. And for TV's Blake Wally, somewhere east of California, stay safe.
Memphis.
Guys, if there's riots, stay out of the riots. Okay? And hang in there. All right. Love you. And we will see you next Friday.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.